Hi, it's Joe here from the Carpet Guys, and today I'm here with
Joe Biggers from Clinton Township Police Department.
First of all, thank you so much for being with us today. Our topic of choice is safer driving during the winter months, and today I'm here to learn what we can do to better ourselves and those watching this as well. So my first question to you is, how often do you see cars being slid during the winter months? Do people not realize how easy it can happen, or is it just something that it just depends on the car?
Well, I think that most of the time, Joe, a lot of people don't take the time to prepare. And that also includes them not giving themselves enough time to get to where they need to be. So everybody's in a rush and everybody's in a hurry. When you have inclement weather, snow, ice, rain, you just want to take your time and try to slow down. So you want to give yourself more time to get to where you need to be. My dad always used the rule of thumb: you give yourself enough time to change a tire. That way you're still on time to work. So I think people just need to give themselves some time and to slow down.
What would you say for somebody who doesn't have an SUV? Like me, for example, I drive a Ford Fusion.
Okay.
So I don't have the luxury of using all four of my tires at once. So is there anything I could do to my car for these months to be more safer on the road?
Well, you definitely want to check the tire pressure in the vehicle. If you look at the door jamb on the car, there's a sticker, there's a placard there, and it tells you what your PSI should be for different weather conditions. Most cases, when it's hotter, you have to let air out of your tires because they normally, inflate, the pressure goes up because of the heat. So you want to go ahead and test those tires and check them to see what they are cold. So for example, if you had something like a Ford Explorer, which is what we drive on the road, you check that, in most cases it's going to be 33 PSI cold. So you don't want to drive around a little bit and then get in there and check it because it's going to be different. And that, allows for expansion of the wheels, and it also improves the ride. Sometimes if there's a lot of snow out and you figure there may be a traction issue, you want to, let a little bit of air out so you can get more of that tread to be able to dig in for traction. An example for a Ford Fusion, maybe getting some snow tires.
Okay.
I've always had, my wife trips about it, but I've always had a tendency to go and have a winter set of tires and a summer set of tires because I didn't want my nice rims getting messed up over the winter.
Don't blame you.
So
I do not blame you.
So invest in getting some snow tires, and that should help out a whole lot.
Excellent. Awesome. Cool. Also, is it true that I've always heard people say that putting even sandbags in the trunk or bricks, especially for cars that are lighter, is that true?
It does help. I mean, it's still going to come down to the driver's habits and being cautious. You always want to be defensive because there's some people that can't stop. And even being in an SUV or a four-wheel drive vehicle, it's always good to know that you can move when you want to move, but the problem is stopping. So you have a tendency to slide. The weight in the back helps out with traction when you're going around curbs, especially when you're getting off the freeway. It helps, but you got to know how much weight you want to put back there. Sometimes it could be 80 pounds or it could be 160 pounds.
Okay.
So you're going to have to basically adjust that off the ride. But yeah, a little bit of weight in the back won't hurt it at all.
Well, I've always noticed this in the winter months. I am always nervous about sliding. If I ever get to the point, if anybody gets to that point of actually sliding, they actually can feel the car going without any control, what would you suggest is the best thing that they should do?
Well, whatever you do, don't lock up the brakes.
Okay.
First things first, you try to be aware of your surroundings and try to see if you were going to slide off the road or into somebody else in front of you. You try to get a grasp of what's going on around you. 1, 2, most of the cars nowadays have anti-lock brakes on them. So if you're keeping up with your vehicle maintenance, getting your brakes checked and whatnot, your braking system, you'll feel, if you do have a tendency just out of reflex to try to slam on the brakes, it won't allow that. You'll have a bunch of vibrating, and that's your brakes pumping itself. But if you don't have that, you can pump your brakes to get your car to slow down, and that'll help a whole lot. But cutting the wheel extremely hard is not going to help you. You want to do, everything's got to be gradual. Even though you're sliding and you feel out of control, that's when you have to maintain the most control. But don't panic and put your foot on the gas and the brake at the same time.
Yeah.
I've seen people do that before.
Let's say I'm stranded and there's a blizzard going on. What would you suggest I keep in my car at all times during these cold winter months? God forbid if my car can be completely useless to me.
Well, first things first, you always got to have some type of snacks in the car, because you don't know when help's coming, right? And the first thing you start to realize is either you're going to have to go to the bathroom or you're going to want snacks. You're going to get hungry.
Yeah.
Okay. So it would be I think good practice to have hand warmers. You can get those from the sporting goods store. An extra blanket, extra clothes. I always yell at my wife because I tell her she should have a pair of boots in the car because it always happens. And what if you slide off the road into a ditch where you got to get out in all of this water? So you got to figure out ways to try to keep yourself warm. How about something like kitty litter or rock salt in a bag in the back of your car? That one, it gives you the extra weight that you want. And two, if you do slide and you get stuck, it might give you a little traction. And if you're looking for traction, then you might want to have a small shovel to dig yourself out. You know, nothing big, but maybe something like a little trenching shovel that you get from the Army Navy place, something that folds up in there. But gloves, extra coat. I keep all that stuff in my vehicle. It's in there year round, so I don't forget. But it's one of those things to where you got to think about, and if you have a companion, a dog or something like that, you want to have extra water. So these are all the things that you want to think about.
Or even an island, like say if you were stranded, I feel the exact same way. It's literally the exact same way. I've always heard that you should always keep at least half a tank of gas in your car during the winter months because the gas could freeze. Is that true?
Well, it's not so much the gas could freeze, but there's actual vapors in the line, and the air can freeze, which makes it more difficult for the car to start. But the rule of thumb, a half tank, 3/4 tank is always going to be your best friend should you have to start the car. You don't want to take the chance. And with these newer cars, with all the electronics and the fuel injection and whatnot, those are all things that you want to take take into mind that could go wrong should you run it like that, because you always want to warm it up. And what if you did get stranded? That's one thing, at least you can let the car run to stay warm.
Yeah. And that wraps it up, folks. Again, my name is Joe from the Carpet Guys, and I want to thank Officer Joe. I appreciate it so much. Thank you very much for your time and your wisdom to let us all know how to safely drive during the winter months.